All right, guys, we are coming from Memphis, Tennessee. Just set up a lot of properties for you guys down that way. We're making our way to Houston, going to Searcy, Arkansas right now. But we're traveling through this little town right here. Parking. Parking welcomes you. And you know who else welcomes you guys? Truck Parking Club. We don't care who you are, what you drive. We've got parking available for all of you. Check us out. Download that app, guys. Pitter patter, y'all. Let's get at her.
What's going on, everyone? Lombard here with Truck Parking Club. Welcome back to the Truck Parking Clubhouse. You're going to start seeing these weekly, probably around 7:15 Central Time, every week, every Monday, where we're going to come on and talk all things Truck Parking Club. We're looking to have some, we're looking to bring on a lot of guests, a lot of who are drivers in our partner affiliate program here at Truck Parking Club, people who have found us and decided to find out a little bit more about who we are and what we do and kind of support this mission. And so, I mean, for those of you who are just tuning in live, if you don't know who Truck Parking Club is, overall, to put it in the easiest terms, Truck Parking Club is the Airbnb of truck parking. We work with property owners who host their property on our platform that drivers and motor carriers can book in real time. It has a great use case. It's something that I've used as a driver, especially hauling oversized loads. If you're a driver out there who wants to drive their full clock, 11 hours, they want to get to a certain destination, but know that they're going to get there after a certain time period. They're going to get there after 5 o'clock and all the truck stops are full, or they've had bad experiences where they've tried to reserve parking at other major chains. You're not able, and you reserve a spot and then you wind up it's full there. So you're able to book it in real time and know full well that you're going to have a safe place to park afterwards. And truly, it's one of the best tools for the toolbox you can have out there over the road. But first and foremost, again, this show, what it's going to be, it's like the overall goals. We're looking to bring on our partners to talk to us about who they are, what they do, where they're at as a link in the chain in the industry, and talk about the topics going on, hot topics going on within the industry. There's a lot going on, whether it be with the market, whether it be with becoming an owner operator, companies to drive for. There's so much information out there, and as Truck Parking Club has grown in properties and has really just grown in general as a business out there, we continue to. The only reason we exist is because there is a nationwide truck parking shortage, and drivers definitely need safe, reliable places to park while they're out there over the road. And so we're trying to become that resource for drivers and really anybody in the industry to come, get good, authentic information from a lot of people who are on the ground. And I'm gonna bring out one of our returning guests. He's jumped on a couple of these live streams before. I want to bring him. He's live out there over the road right now. Jeremy Rhames, what's happening, brother?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. No, I'm coming to you from Sheets Truck Stop here in Virginia. And a little bit about me. I'm just a lease operator with a big company called Rail Transport, and I train with them. So I do leasing and training. And I'm here to talk all trucking and talk about Truck Parking Club and share a little bit of my insight and what my experience was over this past decade of trucking.
Yeah. So real quick. So what got you into the trucking industry? What were you doing before driving? What gave you the idea to get into trucking?
Well, I was having a baby. I was living paycheck to paycheck, just working at a factory before that. And I'm like, well, I gotta, do something different. So I made a change, and I actually started at a company called CRST, and they have a pretty, notorious reputation out there, but they're out of Cedar Rapids. Steel Transport out of Iowa, and I got my CDL with them, stuck around for a year, and that was back in 2015, and then kind of settled on a company I've been at for the past 10 years now, and that's Rail Transport. So I'm just here trying to provide for my family, like us all, trying to make ends meet and doing what's the best way to make money with the resources that we have, right?
I'll tell you, being with a carrier for 10 years is just in my time, I spent a little bit of time as a driver recruiter as well when I had transitioned off the road, and it's tough to find, the job you retire at, so to speak. And I'm not saying that you're going to retire there. I know we've had conversations. You have some plans, and we're going to kind of get into that as we get into the main topic of conversation. But it's a lot to be said when a driver sticks with the company as long as they have. And I think that's pretty. I mean, it's pretty awesome that things seem to be going pretty well for you. How did you first hear about Truck Parking Club?
Well, I think one of the social media platforms you guys caught me there because I'm always kind of following the apps and seeing what's out there. And so, one of the main concerns that I struggle with, frequently is just trying to find spots to park near cities and things like that. And if anybody's ever went into an hours of service violation because there was no spots to park, they can understand why this is important. And so, having options available to me was what I was looking for. And I found it. I've used you guys, probably half a dozen times now. I just started recently and I've been using them pretty frequently. So definitely trying to, put the feelers out and use it to its potential because it has a lot of potential, but it's just, the region I'm in and when it actually applies and makes sense for me to use it. So yeah, it's definitely been beneficial.
Absolutely. One of the coolest things that we rolled out on the app with recently that we've been trying to get the word out more of is that there is a feature on there. So again, whether you need to book parking on the Truck Parking Club app or not, we have the feature on there that does show where there's also free parking in the area. There's a tab for free parking. At the same time, I believe it's up to 7 states now. We're showing the live stats of where there's free rest stop parking as well. So, I mean, it's not just a tool to find a possible property that has, hosted themselves on our platform that could be in a major metropolitan area. It's also similar to Trucker Path or other GPSs that will tell you where there's places to go. We're advertising where there's also the free option to go to, depending on where you're at, what situation you're in, and just where you happen to be at the time. But
I remember seeing you guys on Truck Parking Club too. That's another way I heard of you guys because you're one of those options on there too. So that's great that you guys are collaborating with them because that's a big resource for a lot of truckers out here.
Oh, on Trucker Path, you're talking.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And we got our second guest. I'm going to bring him up here real quick. He's going to give a little brief intro. Want to give because we're going to talk about this in our topic today as we get into a little bit of truck leasing. But Mr. Nathan, the Rambler himself, what's up, brother?
What's up? How's it going?
What's up, man? Where are you at?
I'm actually at home, but quiet place away from the kids, back inside the truck, inside the sleeper. So.
Oh, perfect. Hey, well, scene setting. Yeah, you got to be right place, right time. But that's great that the truck's you're able to park the truck by the house for you. What we got some live people coming in. So what's kind of your background? What made you get into trucking? What were you doing beforehand? What was the push that got you into trucking? What's your experience been?
Well, I'll try to keep it short. Originally from Colorado, but I grew up in Tennessee. Spent some time in the military and always wanted to be a pilot and fly planes. I went to space camp when I was a kid, wanted to go into space, but that wasn't in the cards for me. So several years went by and got out of the military in 2015. And about 2018, I decided to make the jump into getting my CDL and getting into trucking. Had a family member. He's since passed on. He's a local legend in East Kentucky around the coal fields, hauling coal, and he's an OTR driver and all kinds of different stuff. And talked to him about some issues I was having, that I picked up from the military. And I was like, hey, can I still get a CDL? So he's like, yeah, go talk to this guy and, he'll tell you your options. And he paid for my exam. And in 2018, I got a CDL. Started out first with a intrastate only. I couldn't drive over state lines, and was able to get that cleared up a few years later. So I started off in the construction industry, driving dump trucks and flatbed. And then last year, I was able to go over the road for the first time and did that for a few months. Came back home for a little bit, helped out with the Hurricane Helene rebuilding in North Carolina and East Tennessee, hauling a lot of rock to repair the roads. And then now I'm back over the road again, doing flatbed with Conestoga work.
Nice, man. And just ask, so what was the first time you had heard about Truck Parking Club?
I've seen it online through social media, and then after getting to know you, you'd mentioned it to me, and then when I went back over the road, I remember asking you what it was again, and then one night, this around the weekend of Mats this year, that had to have been what, March. I forget which weekend that was. I was coming down from Cincinnati towards Louisville, couldn't find parking anywhere, and even in Louisville, and I couldn't figure out where to get into the expo center at where they're having mats, because I knew there'd be truck parking there, but I couldn't figure out how to get in there. So I just kept pressing on, and ended up on Trucker Path noticing a parking area that wasn't marked as a truck stop or, like a Love's or a Pilot. And I looked it up. It said Truck Parking Club. So I immediately downloaded the app, signed up, paid $25 for that night. Is at one of the Shepherdsville locations. And then the next morning, ended up meeting Hunter and Doomer, I believe he said his name was.
Yeah, Tim Dooner. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I saw those guys, I was like, hey, where's Lombard at? And then next thing you know, got to meet a few more guys, and I've used Truck Parking Club 7 or 8 times since then.
No, that's awesome, man. It shows the kind of the power of social media and how it's gone. It's kind of one of the goals, the reason why we want to use these channels. I mean, we're always advertising about the new properties we're adding, talking about the numbers, but also I think it's important to, I think it's important to talk about how people are finding out about us and the real use cases for it, because it's again, truck parking remains a top 3 issue in the for that drivers and that on both sides of the American Transportation Research Institute, both sides of the coin say that truck parking is a top 3 issue. It's an issue that leads to over 4,000 accidents per year due to trucks being parked unsafely. It also leads to over roughly 55 fatalities per year. So, I mean, it's unsafe for everybody, for truckers and for the motoring public. And at the same time, I mean, we'd be remiss. I mean, it's there, it's really not safe for drivers, considering what happened to Jason Rivenberg in 2009. And I think it's a high part of what the mission at Truck Parking Club is based off of, are events like what happened to Jason Rivenberg, where if this was an option for him, the nominal fee for a safe place to park is definitely worth anybody's life, and at a minimum worth their life, and then going beyond that, it's also worth it to their equipment. I mean, I've seen countless videos lately on social media of people getting hit at truck stops, and these are issues that you're not going to find at our properties too often, too much, which is a good thing. But kind of going into the hot topic, I mean, you guys have been within the industry. You've had your CDLs for quite a bit. Jeremy, you're a lease operator with Rail.
Yep.
Nate, you're looking at leasing a truck. This is a hot topic. A lot, I'd say, on TikTok. A lot of people are always talking about. I mean, a lot of Facebook groups, people are talking about, leasing trucks. The idea of lease purchases. There's been a truck leasing task force that the FMCSA has had, digging up some data. They've recommended to Congress things that are against them. However, this still seems like, at least from my point of view and from the point of view of just a bunch of drivers I know, it still can be a way for people to advance in their career as a driver, with the possibility of becoming a motor carrier. So, I mean, I want to start with you, Jeremy. So what was the thoughts going into why you wanted to go this route of leasing, and if were there any red flags, kind of what did that process look like for you, and how come you ended up committing to it, and how's it been going for you?
Okay. Yeah, no. So for me, it was, I was a company driver for 5 years at this company that also offered the leasing. And so after a while, I'm like, okay, I want to mix it up. I want to change. I've kind of capped out where I was at, and so I'm like, okay, I want the responsibility. It was either I was considering like working for Walmart and being another company driver, And I'm like, well, let's look at the business aspect of things, because I know there's just so much to learn, and there's just so much more responsibility and paperwork and just back office stuff that I was ready. I was ready for more. I was ready for more responsibility, more challenge. And so when I made that switch, I did it with the people that I already knew their lanes, already knew everything about the truck. They actually kept the truck that I was driving. They gave me a brand new truck as a company driver, and I put 180,000 miles on that truck. And then, they ended up leasing me the same truck. So I knew this truck from, day one. And that was pretty cool of them right there. And, that way I didn't have any unexpected, you always wonder when you're buying something used, how the last driver treated, but I didn't have to worry about that. But so I'm 5 years deep into this lease, and I'm getting my title here in September. And so I'm pretty excited with this. And there's been a lot of things that I could have done better. And that's pretty much the value that I have for you guys right here. I'm going to kind of reframe your expectations of a lease, and kind of, if I can tell myself hey, when I started this, hey, this is more about the experience that you're going to get than the pay you're going to get. Because my first couple years in, I'm like, okay, and this is nice. I'm making decent money, and everything's averaging 22 to 2,800 every week, before taxes and stuff like that. And so I made some poor financial decisions in my personal life that made it more challenging for me, such as getting a new car note and stuff like that. And that was a terrible time to do it. If you're in the middle of something like this, you don't want to be expanding your personal financial obligations. That's not a good time. So that was a red flag on my part, and I could be blaming the lease. I'm like, hey, this is gotten a lot harder because, my margin for error is now smaller because of that. And in addition to the, taking on a car note, I also took off 3 months separate 1 month breaks from work. 2 of them were intentional, because when I had my children, I conceived 2 children during a 4-year lease agreement. And so each one of those, I took off 4 weeks to be with my wife and my family for a good paternity leave of absence. And one of them was just putting a clutch in. And it took 4 or 5 weeks for the place that I picked to put the clutch in and do everything. So that one wasn't necessarily a scheduled downtime. So even through all those challenges, I still, I was able to survive and make ends meet. And it could have been a much better experience if I was more prepared and I had maybe 2 incomes in my household. So as a sole breadwinner of the household, that's another factor people need to consider, because if your wife has a job and you don't have any kids, the dinks, the dual income, no kids, those guys, they're going to be able to, have a little bit easier time doing some of these things, because they might have a little bit lower personal obligations. But so that's in a nutshell, that's some of the insight that I could provide about my experience here. Would I do it again? Yes. Could I take better care of my equipment? For example, tonight I just greased my truck, and I try to do it monthly or at least quarterly, 3 times a year. And that's something that I've taken on more recently, preventative maintenance. And if I would have did that from day one, and I would have been taking a lot more initiative and taking care of my equipment, I think that I could expand the longevity of these parts and this stuff. So that's it. I'm done ranting and rambling for now. Thank you for letting me go on as long as I did. So it's back to you.
No, absolutely. I think your experience in it is pretty valuable for decisions people are making to going into leasing. You clearly had a business mindset going into it first, which is important. But then, some life happened with having kids, and I think that those are factors that go into it. Now, kind of Nate, you're thinking about going into leasing. Talk about you going into the this new lease you're kind of getting into. I want to see and kind of throw up exactly kind of what the program's going to look like for you, because I'd love to see if Jeremy's got anything from his experience, ways he could help you out, or just ways to gear you up and set you up for success. Where do you're about to go on a similar endeavor, And that's what the conversation is all about.
Yeah, I've talked to several guys in our company that do it. I've seen their settlements. They bring in good money. They net pretty sizable amounts. Other people I've talked to that I've known personally that have gone through lease programs. It's not to dime out any companies, but they, for whatever reason, it seems like they end up working for free. Like they're constantly on the road. They don't have weekends home. They're paying more for the truck than it's worth. And, leasing a truck is like the rent a center of trucks. You're going to pay more than what it's really worth in the end. Because everyone's trying to make a little bit of money here and there. But the second in command, I believe that's the level he's at. I'm fairly new to the company. I've only been there going on 90 days. If I talk to him in depth, he seems to have a attitude and outlook that he wants to set up his drivers for success. And he's very transparent. And just like Jeremy was talking about getting in a brand new truck, the truck I'm sitting in right now is a brand new 2025 Peterbilt 567. It's the exact color I want. It's set up perfect for what I do. And I asked my boss, I said, hey, what about leasing this one to me? He's like, no. he's like, that's never going to happen. Not at this point. It's too new. You're not going to be able to afford it. And his exact words were, you want to make mama happy and bring some money home to her. I was like, well, mama likes the truck, so let's see what we can do here. And he's like, look, to make that work, you're going to be paying like well over $1,000 to $1,500 a week. You're going to have a massive balloon payment. So, so I told him, I said, well, if you ever change your mind, let me know. But what they did find for me, and it's sitting at the terminal right now, is a 2020 Kenworth 680. It's a mid roof, which I prefer. I don't need a whole lot of extra space. And it's got about 560,000 miles on it. But they go through the truck, and everyone else that I've talked to, the other lease drivers, have had very little issues with the trucks they've been able to find for them. And they try to find them, Freightliner Coronados or Kenworths or Peterbilt 579s. They're not just going to stick you into any little thing unless that's just what they happen to buy, and you're willing to drive that truck. So, and they'll give you an option. They'll be like, hey, we've got these available. Like I missed out on a nice black 680 that was a 22 or a 23 model, and they went quick. And he's like, yeah, I already sold that. And so they called me about this one last week. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And some things that because anytime you get into something like this, the biggest red flag is, what if something major happens with the truck? And one thing that assuaded my fears, now a lot remains to be seen, because every case is different. Experiences vary depending on the person, upon the vehicle, what day of the week it is. But one thing he told me is like, if let's say your motor blew and you had to replace your motor, we'll get it rebuilt for you, or whatever needs to be done, and then we'll finance it back to you. Now, granted, that's a big financial burden that extends the contract. Potentially, it might be a difference of $50 a week. It might be a lot more, but that's weighted my fear of being hung out to dry with a $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, price tag hanging out there. So they seem to be geared to wanting to help you succeed. And the way I look at it is, a lot of people that I've talked to get disillusioned in the fact that they're instantly an owner operator. While yes, your name is on the registration, yes, you will eventually own that truck if you stay in that program and everything goes well. I look at it as, I'm an independent contractor agreeing to a certain price for my time and I'm leasing that piece of equipment to make it happen. Not unlike, a small time like landscape contractor leasing an excavator from the Caterpillar store to accomplish, putting a pool in or anything of that nature. So that's kind of the approach I've taken to it. And the truck is ready to go. But there was some issue with the title. So they're waiting on the title paperwork to come in. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying driving my company truck. But the guys and they've showed me their settlements, they are, at our company, they are bringing in probably netting at least on average 3 times more than what I'm netting right now at the very minimum.
And this is after their fuel, after their payments.
Yeah, after fuel, after their insurance. I tried to look it up a second ago. That's what kicked me out. They rattled off, like, for example, they told me when I agreed to go into this truck that my truck payment would be $427 a week for 208 weeks, and then the other expenses would bring the weekly expenditure towards them about $840 a week, give or take. But everyone I've talked to, and 2 guys have personally shown me their settlements. One guy, he was bringing $8,700 into the truck, and he was netting 45 of that, which is on the higher end. Most of the other guys I've talked to are averaging 3,000, 3,600.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's for Conestoga work. Now, I guess best way to line it up for you. So for you, Jeremy, what does the lease? Yeah, what are the terms of the lease? How long did you have? How long were you leasing your truck?
Sure.
Because you said you're getting the title in September. So how long was your lease, and what does that look like?
Okay, so it was a 4-year lease at it was a $140,000 truck. It was a 2020 Freightliner Cascadia with 187,000 miles on it at the time I leased it, and so it was like $140,000 altogether, and it was $120,000 divided over 4 years with a $20,000 buyout, and the payments were $650 a week. So at the end of that 4 years, I had the option to buy it out for the 20 some grand, or renew the lease for a reduced amount, which is like $460 a week now, and run for 9 months with an $8,000 buyout here in September. And so that's where I'm at right now. I'm running at a reduced payment, and so it was just a 9-month lease extension, I guess, or something, a different one. So, but it's it's been okay, and I think that as the truck gets older, because it's sitting at 760,000 miles now, and I'm putting back 30 cents per mile in maintenance accounts, because these the constant upkeep and maintenance on older trucks, you could expect them to cost more. So when the truck is paid off and I no longer have to make those weekly payments, that's still going to be going to the maintenance account, and I'm still going to be maintaining my salary, because I've been able to live off of $1,000 a week. I don't want to say comfortably, but I'm able to do so. And so that, and I want to talk briefly about the partners that I have, because ATBS has been a big factor in it. So when I started, I went from sole proprietor for a couple years, and then I transitioned to an S corporation. And there's a obvious advantage of paying less in taxes for the same amount of money. I just structured my business differently. And when you partner with these people, because they're business consultants and tax preparers for truck drivers specifically, these guys have a lot of, this is what they do. They filed all the paperwork, hundreds of times. And so they could help you out a lot when it comes to highlighting like strategies for how you want to operate your business. Because if you want to, like say, if you want to show more on your taxes because you're trying to get loans for businesses and homes and toys or whatever it is, then you would want to pay more in taxes because you have a higher taxable income. You're going to have higher lines of credit. If you wanted to pay less in taxes, that's another strategy. Then you can look through and find every write-off you can and really bring that number down. And so as a W-2 employee at my own company under the S Corp, this has had some advantages because banks prefer to work with W-2s versus 1099s. Anybody that's want to try to go through that process could, attest to that. So yeah, definitely going into this, get with somebody that is like ATBS, where they're experienced in their field and can do your books for you, because they do my profit and loss for me, and they do my accounting as well. So
sounds like the best way to go into it for us. I think for you, Nate, going into it, I think you and Jeremy would have a great conversation offline on setting you up, primed up for success. So with yours, it's 208 weeks for your lease, and with the current company you're with, and at the end, do you get it at the end, or do you have a balloon payment at the end?
No, there's no balloon payment. That is one thing that with them finding a older, more used truck, they're able to structure it where we don't have a balloon payment. Now, I'm not saying every truck that they lease to a driver doesn't have a balloon payment. I'm not going to say that because I don't know the individual structure. But the notes that they sent me was, the numbers you just listed and no balloon payment. I'd actually forgotten about that. You just reminded me. So yeah, that was also an encouraging thing, one less thing to be fearful about.
And them mitigating the risk of, saying, hey, if something happens and you need us to support you and financially back you for a big expensive repair, they're there. And now I don't want to put like Rail out there to saying it, but I know during my clutch, when that happened, I covered like 80% of it. And I still needed a little bit of help with it. And so I did sign a promissory note. And I don't want to say to expect that, like, hey, if something happens. I think it's discretion. So they hold the discretion, like whether to support the driver or not support the driver. That's my impulse, but I could seek clarification on that and give people accurate information when I'm giving it. But they have supported me financially as well to try to make sure that I was able to succeed. But I also have the supplemental training income as well too. So I'm training these new guys for them, and so that is a little bit easier for me because I do a lot of home time. So I'm home on weekends, and I get less miles because I like to spend time at home. And so training helps make it so I remain profitable as well. But I want to quickly clarify my perspective on our relationship with Rail, because I view Rail as my customer, and I want to over deliver on my service to my customer. The customer is always right mentality. So whatever I could do to accommodate them and rise to the top to be one of their premier trainers, carriers, whatever you want to, independent contractors, however you want to look at it. I want them to have a good business experience with me and build a reputation and rapport with them of a sound driver to have on their team and collaborate with them as partners.
The last thing I want to get to, but I think that's really important. You said that. I just spoke with the VP of corporate strategy at Truck Stop. And for anybody watching, Truck Stop's one of the major load boards along with DAT. And that was probably one of the most sound pieces of advice he gave out there on that show was, it's like there is this fine line between company driver and owner operator. And when you are an owner operator, lease operator, like you saying, you viewing Rail as a customer is like, it's like business maturity. These are my words. Those weren't his, but it's like business maturity, where when you are now an owner operator or you're leasing a truck and you're doing this, you're your own LLC, S Corp, what have you, everybody you come in contact with now is a customer. And that verbiage isn't used a lot. Like we always refer to people as brokers. We refer to them as shippers, where everybody is a customer at that point. And when you become an owner operator, everybody you talk to, every shipper you go to is a potential customer, whether you found that freight or like for you, Nate, like whether you're getting dispatched on loads through who your carrier has relationships with, but everybody you meet has potential of being a customer, somebody you can build a relationship with, because even if you're a lease operator and you go to that receiver 5 years from now, you might have your own authority. did you get along with those people? Like, did you have a good experience with those people? Did you build a relationship with them? Are they people who might want to call you? So, and that's just like kind of little word to the wise to anybody out there. Like, everybody you talk to, like, if you have a good, like, try to have a good experience with them, present yourself at your best, because no matter what, like, trucking is not immune from sales whatsoever. Say, like, no, you're just because you're in trucking and you own a truck, you are not immune to being successful in sales. If you're going to operate any business, you have to be able to, perform at sales and want to show up for the customer, as you just said. Which I did want to get to freight, because I think this is a red flag that comes up for a lot of people who are leasing. So for you, Nate, when it comes to the freight you're going to be hauling, do you have autonomy over some of the freight you can haul? What are you planning on? Who are you planning on hauling for? Is it what are you looking to get into?
Well, right now, especially with the Conestoga, companies like Arconic, a lot of your other steel companies and stuff, they're going a lot more to having Conestogas haul their coils, because a lot of them are food grade. Like, I haul a lot of coils to like Crown Cork and Seal and ball. So those get made into your Coke cans, your pop cans and stuff. And then others are automotive, so those have to be tarped as well, haul a lot to Michigan. So a lot of what I'll be doing is still coil work and steel coils and things of that nature. And I haven't seen any slowdown, any whispers of anything slowing down in that region. And I actually when I was talking to my boss about getting into the lease, I said, well, because they do a lot of dropping hooks, a lot of local drivers that are yards of like El Paso, Memphis and stuff. They'll preload the flatbeds, you roll up, and it's a great way to rack up miles. But he was even telling me, he's like, hey, in Conestoga, the mileage is a little bit higher because of what some of these companies are paying. So right now I'm going to stick with the Conestoga work, running around the Midwest and, the South, running these coils. And then on the flip side, whatever the backhauls are.
And quick question, is it percentage pay or is it contract rate?
Percentage.
Okay.
They're telling me it's about 75% of the line haul.
Okay. I'm locked in at a certain rate throughout the duration of it. So it's the advantages and disadvantages of that. So I'm insulated from the market. So if the market goes up or down a lot, I'm not gonna see the ups or the downs, because I got that stability of knowing what a flat rate for throughout the whole thing. So that's definitely something interesting to consider as well too. Because I mean, if you're hauling percentage and the market goes up, then you're going to be doing great. Everybody and their brother is going to be trying to get in. But if the market goes down too, that's a lot more challenging.
Could you expand on that? Like, what do you mean you're set in at a rate? Like, that?
Yeah.
Like right now I'm at, I'll be going into, because right now I'm getting mileage pay. But when I switch over, I'll be getting 75% of the line haul plus 100% of the fuel charge. So what do you mean by you're locked in at a rate?
So from my understanding, and I take a lot of my information from ATBS because they provide me a lot of statistics, like 60% of leases are percentage and like 40% are contract rate. So the way my rates for dry van right now, there is a fuel surcharge, which makes up approximately a third of my pay, depending on the price of fuel, because it goes up and down with the weekly average of fuel. And so my longer loads pay less and my shorter loads pay more. The shorter ones pay like up to like $1.65, $1.70 per mile, plus this fuel surcharge. Again, it could be 30 to 50 cents depending on how high diesel is. And then my shorter loads, my shorter loads pay more and my longer loads pay less. My longer loads pay like $1.17 to $1.20 per mile. And so these rates don't change for me. Like the only thing that changes is that fuel surcharge throughout it. So it's been consistent throughout the past 5 years. COVID didn't affect me. I didn't see the bump for COVID, and I also didn't see the dip that we've been, experiencing. So
you're able to project long term what know. So you know more of what you're going to earn as opposed.
Yeah.
I'm not making any sense. So you already kind of have an idea 6 months ahead of what you're going to earn over those 6 months. That way,
Yeah.
you can calculate in your cost expenses against that.
Yeah, exactly. And again, there's advantages and disadvantages to that. One is the stability. I have a stable, projections, but the disadvantage is if the market goes up, like if things get good, then I might not be as making as much money as somebody that's operating off of percentage. So it's kind of a lower risk and lower reward versus a higher risk, higher reward agreement.
That's really fascinating. I dotted a couple of the terms that you just mentioned because I hadn't heard that side of the leasing or the owner op side. I'm curious.
And less than 10% are S corps as well too. It's a very, very small percentage of lease operators that establish an S corporation to do what I've done. Partly because it's more challenging and costly as well too, because you're paying people to do but it's easier to take on drivers as well. So if you're looking to expand, you already have a payroll department established and you're already established as a W-2 driver. So it's a lot easier just to pop more people on and hire people to expand whatever your operation may be.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah,
but it costs though. It's not a free service. These guys got to make their money too. You're paying accountants and business consultants, but it's reasonable for me. I got the value out of it. You use these people because you build these relationships. You're like, and a question you could ask people, how can I use you to your fullest potential? How can you save me money? Because ultimately, what ATBS tells everybody, like, hey, by using our service, our goal is to save you money. So even after you pay for us, you're still paying less than you would in taxes because you got a professional with you to guide you along the way. So that's their marketing angle. They're like, hey, come use us because this is the service that we provide.
Good stuff. And Nate, you taking notes right there?
Yeah, actually I am. You learn something new every day. Like this morning on that trailer, as I was pulling into the plant there in Alcoa, Tennessee, I locked my trailer brakes up, and it turned out it was a simple air valve tucked up underneath that I wasn't aware of. And so I learned something new on the trailer today. And some of the terms he's throwing out here, I'm learning new stuff, and this is great, And whoever's watching and listening, hopefully they get some benefit from this as well. I have heard of you said ATVS. I believe I've got a friend who's worked for Maverick for a number of years. He was a college buddy, and he's mentioned them before. I think he used them when he was a lease operator years ago. So they what's the cost like? Are they like a flat rate, or does it just depend on the service they provide?
Depends on the service. So the basic service is like $20 a week or something like that. And then if you get the higher services like I have what they call the enterprise services where they do the S corporation stuff like that. It's a little bit higher. I think it's like 30 a week something. So.
Oh, that's not too bad.
But yeah, when you think about the cost of doing business, I think that's how things got to get viewed. Like you mentioned earlier, which, some people may have their opinions on, but like the idea that if your engine blows in 2 weeks, they'll help you finance it 0% down. But we have to realize there's other businesses that do that. You might need a new roof on a building. And, if you got to finance a new roof and you own a storefront, a gym, whatever it might be, you've got to get a new roof. Actually, right from example, I mean, I work at a studio. We just needed to get an entire new rooftop air conditioning unit. And it's like, one of the owners of the gym, dude, that's a heavy cost up front. That's just that AC unit's just as much as a new engine for a semi truck that needs to get put on a roof. You need a crane for it. And it's like, for a lot of business owners, I mean, that right there, like if you own a gym, like the one I work at, and the AC goes out, depending on where your margins are at, I mean, it'll put you right out of business. And so the idea of having that as a resource, some people would, you could say it's like, a form of sort of entrapment in a way to keep the truck rolling or to keep you paying them longer. But in essence, I mean, if you really compare it, if you got to zoom out, I think when it comes to leasing, and I've said this on my show, when it comes to the lease purchasing, we know who the bad players are at this point. Clearly, Nate's going down an avenue where he's going to have resources. We've connected you guys together. There's resources to succeed. Jeremy, you're in a position to where Rail wants to set guys up to succeed, or else you're going to go out there and come on live streams and talk about how bad it is and why people shouldn't do it. And then they're going to have less trucks moving. And so I think, and we know who the bad players are who are doing it wrong. So when you zoom out at 30,000 feet though, and you look at this from just a purely business perspective, it can be a viable option. Is it like a viable option for somebody who has the right mindset to go into business for themselves and be successful in the industry? Because that's what I think the most important thing is, what a lot of people care about when it comes to the industry, with all its problems, with everything going on with safety and this and that, which we're going to talk a little bit about safety stuff on next week's show, is that like we want the industry, brokers, shippers, the industry wants drivers and carriers who they want good people in the role. And I think that there's a lot of good people who can be there who don't have the means to do it. And it looks like you guys are finding those means. Anything else you guys kind of want to touch on before you kind of wrap it up on leasing? Like what people should look out for? Kind of, Nate, what are things you looked out for?
Well, what I looked out for was trying to avoid like, you remember in Pinocchio, when we were kids, that movie with Treasure Island,
Yep.
That's why I tried to be mindful of, is the Treasure Island, the too good to be true, that ends up biting you, and be more harmful than good. And I've even talked to just local construction owner operators, of like, hey, how'd you get started? Of course, a lot of them blow me off. They're like, oh, don't do it. It ain't worth it. But then you see them driving down the road with a, brand new side by side, and they're going off on the trail, or they got boats. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Something's not adding up. What are you not telling me? A lot of them are just afraid.
They're not spending their money right. That's why they're telling you not to do it.
Well, that too. I mean, that's obvious, but but it's like, okay, are they fearful of someone else coming in and taking a little piece of the pie? Is it the typical high school locker room stuff of like, oh, shut up, pipsqueak, you'll never be one of us, So I tried to stay away from the delusions. And I've tried to be more mindful of, hey, I'm just leasing a piece of equipment, because that's not a truck with 560,000 miles on it. That's not going to be my forever truck. That's not going to be the one that's going to be sitting at a showroom. Then again, it may. Every part may get rebuilt on it. I might have it for years. I don't know. But I've tried to just look at it as, hey, that's a piece of equipment. This is going to be the cost. Here's the risks involved. Know what you're getting into. And I've kind of had a foray into business before with an old friend of mine. A totally different industry. So I've kind of had a glimpse of it. A little bit of a taste, but I just really tried to pick the brain of people, including you, Michael. We talked the other day about a lot of these details, and so that's what I try to do, is ask questions of really anyone I run into, and then the guys that are actually experiencing it right now with my company be like, hey, is it worth it? Is it working for you? What did you do? What do you do different? And you hear some wild different strategies. Like one guy, he doesn't hold out taxes at all until the last month of the year. And another guy, he's got a strategic, he holds back anywhere 10 to 20%, and so it's just fascinating seeing how different people approach it, and just trying to keep that perspective and seeing what works for me.
Awesome. What about you, Jeremy? You got any red flags? What should people look out for if they're going to be leasing?
Well, if somebody's interested in leasing, they need to just be taking in all the information, like you were talking about, talking with people. And it's not just talking with truckers. It's just, I think, the general business advice, especially as people that are new to business, they might not understand what it requires, and they might have misconceptions about profit margins or things like that. And so I think that the best thing people could do is just get out there and educate themselves. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the psychology of money, just these traditional understanding the fundamentals. Because I never had that guidance and to be brought up. So if you could probably say, if you already have a savings established and already good financial habits established with you, then you're going to be able to do a business. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're coming into leasing right there, I think your chances of succeeding are going to be a little bit harder. It's going to be a little bit less. So you can still learn. You can learn, good business practices, and you can learn good money management. But if there's red flags in your bank account right now, and looking at the numbers, what story does your bank account numbers say? Are you a person that is able to be consistent and save money, and you're going to be able to, make the right decisions when it comes to doing this? It's going to definitely, you can probably determine the probability of somebody's success by looking at their bank account before they even start. And that's what I think of discernment is a lot, because a lot of people that, get into, leasing these trucks, I don't know what kind of standards and they have to, they're probably just trying to sell the truck or something. But if somebody was really discerning, they could probably pick good candidates for the leasing program. Yeah, that's it. Just make your guys yourselves, make it, sorry, look into it, educate yourself on all those things.
That makes sense. I wanted to give this guy the question of the day, because we finally got a question. Number one, hello to you. I'm Kook. Nice. Thanks for tuning in. But somebody's asking, it's because it's coming from LinkedIn. It says LinkedIn user, but who do you think are the best players offering kind of a lease to own? I know you're with Rail, but Jeremy, you've kind of been around for a while. You seem to have networked in the space. Where who have you seen that seems to be successful outside of Rail that you know of? And then Nate, same with you. You seem to know some other guys who've been really racking some people's brains. Who are some other companies that are maybe the good guys in this game?
Well, I'll go ahead and start out real quick and put a button on it for me. But I think that everybody's experience is so different, because there's things like where people live at, the lanes that they have available to them. Different regions are going to have different freight options, and it's going to contribute to the volume of freight that they see, and like their home time as well, their desire. So I think anybody could find success depending on how much they're willing to sacrifice. And like, I know that's a kind of a cop out, but I don't have a big frame of reference for lease programs. I've experienced one lease program, and I've learned a lot from the one I've experienced. But from what I've seen, like, I feel like I've been treated fairly. I don't feel like I've been taken advantage of, and I don't feel like I've had a great deal. But I think that this was a great learning experience, and I would encourage anybody that's wanting to risk it. If the worst case scenario, you just go back to being a company driver. I mean, you might have a little bit of debt or something like that you tried, but at least you tried. At least you put yourself out there, tried something new, risked something, learned something along the way. And I think anybody could find success. It depends on how they want to approach it.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Nate? Of anybody else who's been finding some success outside of, where you're about to go? I know you've talked to somebody at Maverick. I don't know much about Maverick's contractor program by chance, but yeah, anybody else of for the person who asked this question that you've heard of good things?
For lease programs, at my old company, which was belonged to P&S. P&S was their umbrella company. Some of the guys did really well, but a lot of them were turning trucks in left and right. And that was just a year ago, and they were going back to company. So it really depends. Just like Jeremy just said, it really depends on what your needs are. What kind of freight is being hauled. Like where I live, I'm 40 minutes from Alcoa, Tennessee. That's, a major aluminum supplier. I mean, almost every truck in the country has aluminum Alcoa wheels. I don't think they mill them there, but so look, like what's going to be your hub? How often can you get home? What are your needs? And honestly, I'll just caution anybody, no matter what the flag is that you choose to fly under. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But if it does sound good, keep asking questions until you get that social proof, until you see it in the black and white, like I did. Like far too often, too many people get wrapped up. It doesn't matter what it is, leasing trucks, anything, with how good it is. Like MLM companies are real good for this. My mom was involved in just about every MLM company get rich quick scheme growing up. But it was always too good to be true. And the black and white just didn't it didn't work. But I'm seeing it work for these guys at my particular company with the way that we run, and some of the customers they have are very consistent. But in the end, one thing I've learned in life, I'm 42 years old, is it doesn't matter really what you do. Life is short. I mean, yeah, you don't want to jump in blind to something, but don't be afraid to fail. You know, just pick something, and if it doesn't work, have an exit strategy, have a way out, but give it your all and don't be afraid to fail, because failure is where you learn. And then you can be like, hey, yeah, don't buy that truck because the flux capacitor is a piece of crap. And then, you can help the next generation coming up, because far too often in trucking, no one is willing to just be like, hey, don't do that. Do this instead, or call these people.
Yeah. And your worst case scenario is somebody else's plan A.
That's a solid quote right there. Your worst case scenario could be somebody's plan A. No, that's well said. Mindset. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. Read the fine print. I think those are all pretty solid advice tips for anybody out there. Well said about failure too, Nate. I mean, when it comes when you look at anybody, I mean, you look at Steve Jobs or any of these guys you talk about, even the president of the United States. Like there's people have had failed multiple businesses. Anybody out there, there's nobody, any of the billionaires, we know of or millionaires that got fired, quit a job, did something. We're on somebody's couch. I look, those are in like there. How many books are in Barnes and Noble of like those struggle periods? And people think it's just like hyperbole or hearsay, but they're true nonetheless. And I think that's the overarching theme of all this. But hey, I mean, we're gonna be bringing you guys on more in the future. I know we're gonna be bringing on some more partners. I want to thank everybody who came out to watch us live on all of our platforms. We're gonna sign this one off again. So by the way, we have a question in here. This gentleman, he needs parking in Jersey City, New Jersey, around $300 to $400. For you, Georgie, please go to truckparkingclub.com to look for some parking needs in the New Jersey area. And for anybody out there, we've got a newsletter that goes out every Monday night called Taillights that I write myself. And the thing is, it's completely driver focused. Jeremy's contributed to it. I'd love to have some contributions from Nate and really drivers anywhere. If you've got certain stories, advice you want to give, companies to company nightmare stories, companies you want to praise, anything like that. We're trying to pack that in that newsletter and then also bring those conversations to the Truck Parking Clubhouse to talk about these issues and get more of that information out there to you guys. So like today's newsletter just went out at 7 p.m. Central Time. The CVSA, which is the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, they are a nonprofit lobbying organization that is trying to push the FMCSA for more restrictions on the use of personal conveyance. I think that there's some issues with that. I've already gotten feedback from readers about it. And so hoping to come back with you guys next week to have a conversation about that with any of our affiliates. But before we go, Jeremy, Nate, where can the people find you if they got questions for you, if they want to talk to you, what socials you're on, or if you got an email, drop your contact real quick before I take this one home.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, sure. No, I'll just leave you guys with my email. It's my name, jeremyrhames7@gmail.com. If you guys want to reach out to me directly, if you got any questions like that, I'll take the time to have a conversation with you. If you have, if you're interested in leasing or something along the lines of with rail or anything specifically, I'll make myself available. Just shoot me an email. It's my name, jeremyrhames7@gmail.com, or my YouTube. It's Rhames Transportation on YouTube. And I will be branching out more. So if you follow my YouTube, you'll see all the stuff in the links of the YouTube.
Well, I'm on TikTok. My username is Rambler on there. If you go on there and look at it, I'm trying to be someone funny on there, and sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. So take it with a grain of salt. But you can message me through there. I do have some good videos. A lot of people. And in fact, I think that's where several of my trucking friends, that I've connected with have found me. So, but yeah, Rambler on TikTok, and eventually I'll get some of the other social media pages lined up. And but yeah, I'm not hard to find.
All right, sweet. So you guys know where to find him. And if you guys need truck parking, again, go to truckparkingclub.com. You can reach out to myself. You can email me at lombard@truckparkingclub.com for any questions you guys got, especially once again, these two guys are partners with us. So they're in on the mission. They're out there kind of telling other drivers about Truck Parking Club because of what we do. And they have personal promo codes that will give you $20 off a parking location. You can use Jeremy's code is Rhames20. Nate's code is Rambler20. They're good for one-time use. They'll get you $20 off a spot. And at the same time, so if you're somebody who's got who connects with people on social media, is really passionate about helping the industry, leaving the industry better than you found it. That's what we're doing here. Is we're building a community off of this mission to help drivers and help drivers find some safe parking and tell them about the app. But with that, Truck Parking Clubhouse is out.